I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. We're talking about dominant and submissive relationships. We're not talking about role playing. We're not talking about kink. We're not talking about play. I mean, I will be referring to it. But the theme of this is really being a DS partner and the dominant and submissive relationships that, well, the one you want to be in, that's amazing and wonderful, and making it better. There are, hundreds of thousands of books out there on relationships that are not dominant and submissive relationships. There's not even hardly a fraction of books out there on the actual relationship itself. Most of this is not going to be lifestyle specific, as some of you know. The way that I educate is not just for any specific lifestyle, meaning that whatever lifestyle that you're in, or if you're not in a lifestyle, as a DS partner, what I'm sharing, most of what I'm sharing should be relatable. And I'm sharing from my personal and professional experience. So a little bit about me. I'm one of those people that have been a DS partner actively every single day of my entire adult life. Also, I'm an author. I researched and wrote a book, which included talking with a number of clinicians and working with them. Some of the clinicians you may know, some are leaders in the lifestyle. And there is one of them in particular who's done a lot of research on lifestyles scientifically. And he's actually used my book for his presentations. There are other people who are leaders in the lifestyle who've used my book in their teachings and their presentations. My book is a standard in a lot of areas of the lifestyle. I believe it's submissiveguide.com, submissiveguide.org, very helpful resource. She has reviewed my book, but she also gave my book to her therapist to help her therapist understand her better. And it did help. So there's a number of people who've used my book, not just for themselves and for their own relationships and reference. They've given it to loved ones and they've given it to their therapists to help them understand. I've been an educator for a long time. I've educated online and offline about this. You guys have probably seen me around. And I also, for the 23 years that I've been doing what I'm doing in my practice, I've had many DS partners that I have helped at different levels of relationships, whether they're just getting out of one, wanting to get into one, or really trying to save their relationship. I've been a CAP member, a kink aware professional, about 17 years, give or take a year. I thought about that as, yes, they're kink aware professionals, but those people will be more likely to understand your DS dynamic and accept it. We've had too many problems with people not understanding and accepting it. So those are some things about me. Dr. Robert Rubel, he's written many books about dominant submissive relationships and several lifestyles. He said that my book is his DS Bible. I've also worked with him and he's a good friend. A lot of the information that I share with you today is not just based on my own personal experience and professional experience working with clients. It's based on what I've heard from tens of thousands of DS partners since I wrote my book. So if you hear me going into something at length, it's probably because that's one of the common things that I hear. Topics I'll be talking about, it's going to be easy. As I said, I'll be covering the various stages of the DS relationship. I'll be talking about the most common issues and giving you some resources. I'll be talking a little bit about those. Please take notes to help yourself with what I'm sharing. So that's what we'll be going over. Basically healing from a previous relationship, maybe getting ready to get into a new one. That's quite a sacred process right there. And it takes a minute. I'll be talking about that. Then there's the stage of vetting, dating. And then, of course, there's getting into and being fully in the relationship. And then there's the relationship in crisis. Some of this can relate to non-DS, of course, but the theme is for is DS themed, and it's for DS partners. Now, a D type or an S type is your relationship orientation. It's not what your tradition or your family or your religion says you are. It's what you feel to the core. It's what you want to be. And it's you wanting that connection with your counterpart. It's not what you want to become for someone else. Now, I'm just going to speak on this real quick. There are a lot of people who have felt that they were called to be a dominant partner, and it just never really worked out until they found someone who said, hey, this is what I want you to be for me. And then that dominant steps into it and gets educated on it, which is wonderful and beautiful. But what also happens is someone who is not a dominant partner and someone tries to get them to be one and they work really hard to be one and they're not. What I've seen in my experience is it usually ends up the person that's really trying to make it fit and really trying to make it happen is a submissive partner. That happens a lot. Being a D or S type partner is not really necessarily who you are in other areas of life. I'm going to add to that. It's not even really who you necessarily were in relationships that failed. Okay. It's who you feel like you really are. There are exceptions. There's some people that get together and one person's a submissive and they want the other one to help them with structure and make more decisions. And the person's not a dominant, but maybe they can agree to do that to be able to be fulfilling enough for the submissive partner. I don't hear about that enough, much at all. I also don't hear about two submissive partners working out, being really bonded and successful. I hear about sometimes they make it work, but there's always something missing. They thought the other one was a dominant partner unconsciously. Two dominants usually know if they're going to work out, they're partners with other partners who are submissive. So I'm just speaking about this being kind of as a rule. There are exceptions to the rule. But what I've heard has been a huge problem is there's quite often there are two submissive partners. And at least one of them is just not getting what they're needing and they're missing something really big in their life. I warn you about that, to be really thoughtful about who you're attracting and don't try to make up who they are and don't try to be someone that you're not. I do have an issue with the fact that other people who are not DS get to call their relationships relationships, and that we call ours a lifestyle. What I say to that is, I understand that's how some people have learned, but like, why? That's discriminatory verbiage, isn't it? So we're discriminating against ourselves. I feel really strongly about this, as you can probably tell. So I feel it puts our relationship, the DS relationship, in a negative light and at a disadvantage. We're running around calling it a lifestyle when it is a legitimate relationship. Absolute, legitimate, can be bonded, healthy, long-term, close relationship, and we're calling it a lifestyle. Like, why? You may want to reconsider that. And by stressing the kink and the play instead of the relationship structure and needs, we're also undermining ourselves. We may really want to think about how we're doing this. We don't want to do like we're watching other people, they're doing it, so we're going to do it too. Let's value that this is a relationship, and kink and play and lifestyle can fit into it beautifully or not. It's up to you. It's how you do it, but it is a legitimate relationship. I also don't use the term power exchange, and I do respect that other people do. But DS types, it's who we are and how we connect. It's how we love our partners.
You've been watching the introduction module to my DS Relationship Masterclass Collection, a robust compilation that educates and guides you to have the bond and great love of a DS relationship. You can get this course at dsrelationships.com or at the link to this video below.